93 of Kowalski Analysis. I'm your host, Rob Kowalski, and this is a podcast designed to help you become the man or woman you could have been and live the abundant life. Today, we have a remarkable guest joining us. He's a man who needs no introduction. Born in September 24th, 1977 in Los Angeles. Kabir, tell me how to pronounce your name, Kabir. I don't want to butcher
it. Kabir Baja, the G is silent. Baja Biamila. Kabir
Baja Biamila. And his journey began with a passion for football and a foundation rooted in the values of his Nigerian heritage. He excelled at football at San Diego State University and transitioned into the Green Bay Packers, becoming a defensive force, earning Pro Bowl honors and setting franchise records with 74 and a half career sacks. Wow. His journey doesn't end with his retirement from the NFL, though, because in a remarkable turn, he embraced a life deeply intertwined with his faith and community. He is, now I'm going to get this wrong because this is what it says, a devout Torah observer. He is actually a black Jew or just a Jew. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. He's not only a family man, but he also practices a unique lifestyle, having multiple wives, and he resides in a communal setting, which we're going to talk a little bit about because he's part of a church named called Straightway. And we're going to talk about that as well. But his journey is his post-football journey is a testament to his unwavering commitment to his faith. And as a member of his church, Straightway, he navigates his life with a perspective that extends far beyond the football field. His dedication to faith, family, and community stands as a compelling example of a life lived authentically. Welcome to the show, KGB.
Thank you so much for having me, Rob. I'm glad to be here and talk about this topic here. This is exciting. So I'm glad you reached out to me, and I like the work that you're doing and what you're promoting, because we need to start provoking people to start really thinking biblically.
Yeah,
what the Bible says about biblical marriage. So I really like what you're doing.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. I originally found you when I discovered this information about plural marriage, biblical marriage, however you want to frame it. I found a couple of your videos and I was like, you were just spitting truth and I could feel it in my spirit. So I knew I had to reach out, and I actually reached out to your pastor, which I had told you about before we started live here, Pastor Dow, because I found some of his stuff and I was like, I got to get him on the podcast and get him talking. Had Pete Rambo on the podcast a few episodes ago, and he's about to do a debate with some pastors that are misinformed, I'll say. So yeah, man, I'm doing my best to get the word out because it's life-changing stuff. So yeah, let's just dive in. Tell me, because I originally, when I told everybody I was having you on, I said that you were a Torah observer, and I said something about the lost, because I knew it had to do with the Jews and lost tribe of Israel, and I've heard Kanye West actually talk a little bit about this. So real quick, tell everybody, you consider yourself a Jew.
I believe and know in my spirit that I am a Hebrew. I'm an Israelite by blood. We were told that we are Yoruba from Nigeria. Most people say, "Oh, you're Nigerian," or "You're Yoruba," or "You're African American," but really we're Hebrews. Everything points back to the Israelites, the sons of Jacob. And I was a Hebrew practicing Christianity in this country. I identified as a Christian at one time. I practiced Christianity for 16 years, and after 16 years of Christianity, I came into the truth. The Most High, Yah, gave me a dream. I had a dream, literally. I was wondering if I love him, and I knew he loved me, but I didn't know if I loved him. And in that dream, he basically said, "You don't love me," and that I would be tested. And then that's when the scales fell off from my eyes, and I discovered the true Sabbath. And I remember looking into it when I was in Christianity, but no one ever wanted to talk to me. But once I found out about the Sabbath, the next day, I'm not making this thing up, the very next day, I saw a video by Pastor Dow, who's my pastor at Straightway Truth Ministry. He had some videos talking about the Sabbath, and he was just using the New Testament. And he was literally like, I was convinced. I'm like, man, I knew what he was speaking was truth.
Right.
And it was so compelling. I never done this to anybody I listened to. It was so compelling. I wanted to go down to Tennessee. I'm in Wisconsin. I wanted to go to Tennessee and go visit how they do the Sabbath, because he never really told in that video how to keep the Sabbath. I reach out just like you did. I called. Now, one thing about Straightway, you got to keep calling, and I kept calling. That I think that Friday, his Blog Talk Radio, the Sabbath night, I gave him a call, and was able to set up a time to go and meet him. It was July 1st, and then 21 days later, I was scheduled to go out there, but my family left me after the 19th. So that's when I had my Job moment, and the rest is I'm here where I am now because of that. But that's kind of how I came into the truth.
What year was this?
This was in July 1st of 2017.
Okay, so July of 2017. So you said you practiced Christianity for 16 years before that. Were you raised in a Christian home?
No, actually, I yes and no. I grew up in my mom was a Christian, but she started off as a Muslim. Both my father and my mother are born and raised in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. They're both Nigerians, really Hebrews, but I'm just using the term. But they're both Nigerians. They came to America. I was born. And I'm just getting sure. But they were born, and I guess my mom converted to Christianity. So I grew up in a Christian Muslim home, but I grew up my whole life going to a Nigerian Christian church. But during the time of Ramadan, this is the holy month of Muslim. That's when I would practice my Islamic faith. My dad did try to teach us Arabic and took us to Arabic school, but it was very hard to teach us Islam at that time in America because there was just not a lot of resources out there. We had no mosque there in LA. And so we just ended up just practicing Christianity. But when I went to San Diego State, when I left my father's house and went to school, I took on and started practicing Islam on my own during my stay at San Diego State.
That must have caused some conflicts between your mom and dad, I'd imagine, having different faiths, right? No?
Actually, it's a normal practice in Nigeria. You have people who are Muslims, and you serve who you practice. You serve God the way you worship God. So they can have a cohesive lifestyle, because really what really bonds them is not the religion. It's more their culture, their Nigerian culture. The Yoruba, being part of the Yoruba tribe, is more of a stronger bond than their religious.
Gotcha.
In a sense. So
yeah,
that's what bonded them together. And my mom, coming from Islam, understood that stuff. So it wasn't like the typical Christian that people grow up in this country. Like I said, I went to a Christian church. I didn't go to a white Christian church or a black Christian church. I went to a Nigerian Christian church, which is different from all the stuff I just described to you. So, but yeah, so that's it. So then when I got to the Green Bay Packers, just to kind of tell how I became Christian, that's when I converted to Christianity. I had, chaplains talk to me. And I remember, accepting Jesus Christ, as my master, my savior. I used to say Lord and Savior, but my master and savior. And it was in September of 2000, September 26th, I accepted him and was committed to following Jesus all the days of my life. And I've been doing it ever since, even though I was doing it in the form of Christianity. But as I came into more of the truth, now I don't identify as a Christian anymore. I'm not even a Christian.
Yeah, I got that. But obviously you believe that Jesus was the Messiah.
Yes, and he died. Yep, he died on the tree for my sins. Yep,
right. Gotcha. So was your dad polygynous or no?
My dad was not a polygynist, but his father, my grandfather, was a polygynist. My great grandfather was a polygynist. They had 4 wives. My grandfather had 4 wives. So my dad grew up. He had 15 siblings. He's one of 15 siblings, and he had 4 different moms. Obviously, he had his mom, but he also had, and because I remember asking my dad, I said, "Dad, what did you call your other dad's wives?" He said, "Mama." I said, "What do you call your mom?" "Mama." I said, "Oh, okay." So my dad grew up in a polygynous home where that was his lifestyle. So this is very. And I knew that, to be honest with you, I never thought polygyny, even as a Christian, I never thought it was wrong. I remember bringing it up, not that I cared, because I grew up in a monogamous home, just my dad and my mom. But I never thought it was wrong. To me, it was normal. And I remember I used to talk to my wife at the time. I used to talk to her about it. She said, "No, it's wrong." And I could tell Christians at the time, just like, it was like, ugh, like it was like, so it was a moot point. I mean, you can't practice. It's illegal in this country to do polygyny. So it was no reason to really talk about it. But I never thought it was wrong. You see it in the Bible.
Yeah.
You see David, you see Solomon, you see Abraham, Moses. I can go through the whole Bible. So I never thought it was wrong, but I got a sense that Christianity really frowned upon it And so I just never really talked about it or anything like that. So
yeah. So let's talk about a little bit, like you transitioning from traditional Christianity to straightway. So like, what was it that Pastor Dow was saying that really resonated with you that was different than what you were hearing in other places?
Well, as a Christian, I was big on filter everything through the word. I used to teach my sons and daughter, every time when people talk to you, even if an angel come to you, test everything. You filter everything through the word. And so I was really big on that. When I would talk to Christians, I always went to the Bible. And I was pretty good from a Christian point of view until I met my match with Pastor Dow. So Pastor Dow comes in, and I'm talking about he's straight book. He's straight word. And Pastor is very masterful with that book, with the word of Yah. It's in him. It just spews out of him. He coughs the word of Yah. And so, but when he was talking about it, everything he was showing Sabbath. He showed what they did after Jesus died and resurrected and went on. He showed how the apostles met on the Sabbath day, how the Greeks, how the Gentiles and the Yehudim, but they say Jew in the Bible, how they met to see the word, how even Paul, that was his custom, 3 Sabbaths in a row, he came back and was sharing the scripture. I'm like, wow, because in Christianity, they don't really point to that. They'll just say, oh, that it got moved or somehow or whatever. So from there, that compelled me to say, because like I said, I had a dream. So if you take that dream out, it's just a Sabbath moment, right? So I would have just probably, glossed right over it. But what made it so powerful for me was because the night before, which happened to be a Sabbath, which I didn't even know at the time, I had a vision or a dream. And I'm not one. I mean, Rob, I'm telling you, I'm not one to say God talked to me.
Yeah.
God only spoke to me one time that I've actually heard an audible voice. I'm not the guy. Oh, he talked to me. Oh, yeah, I woke up and God told me that. But the one time he talked to me, and it wasn't like a fuzzy feeling. His words were very terrifying. He says, "You don't love me." I'm like, no, God, you know that I love you. I'm here pleading with him. You know that I love you. He says, you will be tested. So now my head is on a swivel. I'm like looking like, okay, I know I can pass this. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to show God that I love him. The first person that said, I just got to get one person in my back pocket and I got this in the wrap. This is going to be one of this. It's going to be one of these type of tests. I'm going to pass the test, but I got to get one person. And at that time I was trying to get my ex-wife. I said, hey, I know we're going through some tension with the whole head covering and the image of God, but I need you. I'm telling her, I need you. She could see it on my face. Just follow my lead. I don't know where this is going to go, but just follow my lead. And I'm thinking like, okay, good. She's a Christian. I'm a Christian. Okay, boom. And then the next day, boom, that came up. And I'm thinking like, okay, this is biblical. There's nothing wrong with this, right? Okay. And then all of a sudden.
When you say this, what do you mean?
Sabbath. I mean,
Sabbath. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just following. I'm only following pastors. So I didn't really watch pastors' other stuff. From that video of the Sabbath, I called him. Well, what I did know is Pastor, he brings it raw. I mean, he does not spare. He spares not. He brings the truth. Now, my wife at the time, she did more research, and I'm assuming you looked up straightway, and if you do some research on straightway, what comes up? Cult, this, that.
I want to talk about some of that. Definitely. I want to overcome some of those misconceptions. But keep on.
Yeah, so all that happened, and so I'm not knowing what she's doing behind the scenes. She's telling people, he's looking into this cult thing, and I'm not even knowing. So anyway, this is July 1st, July 7th. I talked to Pastor Dow. I kind of say, hey, Pastor, my name is Muhammad. I used another name of mine, which is actually my legal name, but I said Muhammad, and then we talked on the side. I said, hey, I play football, but I would like to come and check out your ministry and see how you guys do the Sabbath. You didn't really talk about how to practice it. You convinced me. I'm convinced it's for today and it's not done away with, but I want to come see it. He said, well, you got a large family. Come on down. So I told my wife, hey, I know we have, the Noah's Ark, the Creation Museum. I'm assuming if you're a Christian, you will know something like that.
Know of it. I've never been.
Okay, but we used to do family vacation there. So we were going to go down there already. So I said, hey, it's down in Tennessee. We're going to go first to go check out Straightway and then come back up to Kentucky. It was right by Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And so I told my wife, hey, we're going to go. Donald Driver at the time. I don't know if you know who Donald Driver. He played for the Green Bay Packers. He got inducted into the Packer Hall of Fame. Me being a Hall of Famer myself, but we got invited. So I got 2 tickets. Me and my wife, we're going to go there do Donald Driver stuff, boom, support him. He's our teammate, great dude, boom. And then from there, we're going to go head on the road. But this whole time, she didn't want to go. She said, I am not going. I don't feel this is of God. She got the elders involved. You know, if you really want to hear the story, you can go to my channel and check out. You'll see it in raw. But the gist of the story is that she didn't want to go. So by the time we were getting ready, the week that we're gonna before the Hall of Fame, she took my seven children at the time and took off and left and hid at a pastor's house for 40 days.
So she left because
she left. I went to go meet with some clients, came back home. My family is gone. Called the Christian church, called everybody. Everybody just went dark on me. They just ghost everybody, pastors, elders. Everybody is like.
And you've been tied into these. This is what trips me out.
Millions of dollars, Rob.
This is what trips me out is people like when I start talking about this, they're like, you're perverting scripture, you're being influenced by the enemy, all this stuff. And I'm like, they don't realize how carefully I've lived. I take the call of God so seriously on my life that I would not do anything that I wasn't feel like I was being led by the Spirit. I mean, I'm looking at you. You're faithful attending church. You're tithing a lot of money.
I'm a deacon. I'm a deacon of
10% of your of millions of dollars you're giving to the church, like you're supposed to. Like these people, half the people that are my comments, they don't, they're out fornicating and they're telling me that I'm wrong. And I'm like, you realize you actually are sinning, and it's clear in the Word of God, right? Like I compare my sexual track record to just about any of y'all. But I'm looking at you and I'm just saying, like, here's a guy that's really devoted to the Lord based on how you're living. You got and then you're feeling the Holy Spirit leading you. And then she bounces, which honestly, because I told people I was having you on and somebody's like, isn't he the guy that abandoned his family? And I'm like, I don't think it went down like that, but that's not even a biblical ground. Like she might've disagreed with you, but that's not biblical grounds for her to leave.
Well, she had the support of five because of who I am, being KGB, whatever you want to call it. I was very involved in the Christian community in this area, very involved with the radio station, different churches, gave money. I mean, I was like Mr. Christian. If you see my past, big on Christianity, gave a lot of money to the Christian cause. And now when I needed help, usually I was helping the church. Now I'm asking for help. And they, like I said, they went ghost.
So is it all because of Straightway?
Yeah, and this is before polygyny. I'm just gonna let you know. I know we talk about polygyny, but it had nothing to do with polygyny. I didn't even know that Straightway practiced polygyny. Knew nothing about it. All it was is about the Sabbath. That was it. The Sabbath. Now I'm in the Catholic community, so Catholics really have an issue with Sabbath. I didn't know that. I studied the Spanish Inquisition and the canons of the Catholic Church or the Christian doctrine. I said, okay, I did not know. If I would have known what I know, I probably would have. I just thought like, oh, Sabbath, what's the big deal? It's a big deal. They say you work on the Sabbath, but that's a whole nother story there. But the long story short is, she left. And it was a Job moment. The best way I can describe it and just sum it up, I had a Job. The worst thing that could happen is my wife went the other way. I lost all my children who I loved. I was big on focus. I was a supporter of Focus on the Family. I'm assuming you heard of Focus on the Family with Jim Daly. Before Jim Daly was Dr. Dobson. I mean, I was big on it. Listen to all that stuff. And I even talked to Jim Daly. All of them supported her, would have supported her over my situation. Try to call for counseling, no help. And so anyway, with her doing her thing, I kept saying, I got to follow this. I got to see it's kind of like the Matrix. I got to see how deep this rabbit hole really goes. And so I just kept going. And then in there, that's when I ran into polygyny. And then but to me, the polygyny wasn't even a big deal. I mean, I could have had a bunch of women back in the days. You know what I mean? Women came up to me doing autograph signing and stuff. So it wasn't like it wasn't my thing. I was okay with being a one man doing monogamy. I was perfectly comfortable with my one wife and my 7 children, to be honest with you. But what some of the things that Pastor was bringing up about the law and they're just different things. Those are stuff that was really, really getting me to start looking into the ministry and seeing, man, this ministry is really biblical. They got power. They speak in tongues. They cast out devils. They lay hands on the sick. I mean, they are literally, like when I went to go visit Straightway, the piece that pastors on to say, they are literally living this book They're doing community according to Acts chapter 2 and Acts chapter 4. They have all things in common. I'm like, dang, it's like walking. Like I told you, I go to the Creation Museum. Forget the Creation Museum. Creation Museum has nothing on Straightway. You go to Straightway, you're thinking you're walking in the Bible. Like it's like, wow, women in their role, bro. I'm talking about women. They'll say, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, they treat men like kings. It's beyond. It's just like brothers hugging your neck so hard. They greet you with kisses and hugs, holy kiss, hugs. I'm like, they're literally doing what this book is. I've read the book 8 times, and I've never seen. You show me one Christian church that's doing what Straightway's doing, I will leave Straightway Truth and go join that church. And I don't think you will find it.
Yeah.
So then when polygyny came in, Pastor even introduced me at the time, and it wasn't like Pastor was hiding. At the time, he was practicing, but he wasn't promoting necessarily. So when I came there, he introduced me to his. Obviously, I knew his first wife, Mother Carol, and then he said, "Oh, this is my second wife right here." I said, "Oh, okay." He wasn't. Pastor's a very humble man, meek. I mean, when you meet like his personality on TV or YouTube is not the man that you meet. He's a very. I mean, he is a loving man. He is a. I know it's hard, but he's a humble man. He's a quiet man, believe it or not. And so, what did it for me? For polygyny now, what got me to start thinking about polygyny was now we have a situation here on hand. I lose my family. My wife.
Before you start this, because I know I just want to do one quick thing. Okay. Hey, we got about 80 people on here right now. Do me a favor, everybody, drop a comment if you haven't yet. Let us know where you're watching from, and if you would, feel free to share this episode. We're going to get into some heavy stuff that's very important that the world needs to know about. So feel free to share the episode. But drop a comment, say hi, and if you feel like it, tell us where you're watching from. I did want to say also, before I forget, you said Pastor Dow is practicing it, not promoting it. I'm the opposite. I'm promoting it right now. I'm not practicing it yet. I don't know if I will. We'll see. Yeah. But I did see some of Pastor Dow's stuff, and I love this one. I was watching him, and he was talking about fat preachers, and he was using the word fat over and over, and I was like, I love it, because you know what? You can't even. It's like people won't even say fat anymore for fear of offending somebody. And I did really appreciate that he was spitting it direct.
A wound from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. Pastor will love you, and you will be provoked into love. I'm telling you, you can either love him or hate him. And I love my pastor. He's like a coach. He's like that tough coach and he knows how to encourage you. When I was down, I remember when my family left, he said, "Son." He says, "Okay, hey, what you're going through right now is hard. Losing your family, that's a hard step. I need to get your head up, put your shoulder back, and I need you to close the door. You go in there and you cry your head off. But when you come out, you need to stand on that word." I mean, like it was like I remember saying, "Yes, coach." You know, the way he was talking to me was like what a coach would when you're going into a game and it's tough. And so, like I said, Pastor, I mean, I'm alive today because of what Yah did. Was doing through Pastor Dow. Pastor Dow literally saved my life, my physical life. I was depressed, losing my family. I was isolated. I was left for dead. The whole goal was for me to commit suicide. I'm just telling you that right now. The spirit of suicide came up.
Were you depressed before the family left?
No. Okay. Everything was good. I mean, like it was sudden. It was like when I say it was a Job moment, it was a Job. Job wasn't depressed. Everything. Job, your house, Job. Like it was like this. My life in a twinkle of an eye, boom, gone. Come home, where's everything? Call it. I mean, it just. And so it was a Job moment, and the only person, and there was some other people, but Pastor Dow literally called me every day, checking on me. And this is a busy man. If you know Pastor's schedule, I don't even talk to him as much as I did, but he called me every day. And there was a moment in that after a few months, after he says, "It sounds like you got it," because I start getting my strength. I start looking. He says, him being a military man, he could probably tell I was kind of doom gloom type of moment. And he says, "It sounds like you got it." And he's the one that inspired. He says, "You should tell your story. You should tell your story on YouTube." And that ended up becoming very healing for me to be able to express what was going on.
Sure. I just want to say, feel free to drop questions in the comments. We may try to get to them at some point. You mentioned that Straightway was called a cult. I do want to get into that, but I want to mention that Christians were called a cult. You know,
I know.
the Romans used to say that Christianity was a sex cult. So like I actually almost take it as a compliment. You know, people used to call City Fam a cult after I started. I was like, they're just trying to describe something they don't understand. But go ahead, tell me the story about the polygyny, because you shared that with me, and I mentioned that in one of my stories recently about how that came about. Because people are so quick to say, "Oh, it's just sex." There's people who are sex crazed; they just want to have sex. I'm like, people are doing that now. If you want to have sex, why the hell would you get married? Like that just is going to limit. You got to take care of the person. You're responsible for them now. If it was just sex, why would I need to get married to them? So, I really loved your heart behind that story. I would love for you to share that now.
Well, what got me open to polygyny was after losing my family. I am a financial advisor by trade now. And we believe in diversification, right? You don't put all your eggs in one basket or one company, because if it goes down, it's done, right? So you have to understand, I was I'm just trying to just build this up. I was very involved. I was like a poster child for Christianity. I was the spiritual leader. I tithe. When we vacation, we found a church to go to on Sunday. I mean, I made sure my children, they could only watch Christian channels, Bible movies. If we were on the road, if they said, train up your child when you walk along the road. The only thing they could watch in the car was a Christian cartoon. I mean, everything was revolved around Christianity, focused on the family, right? So, so for me, I put a lot of time. They went to Christian schools, never stepped foot in a public school, went to a Christian school, solo scripture, all of that stuff. So to me, I'm thinking like, man, I put all that time in there, and it was based off of one woman. One woman was able to tear that whole thing down. And what happened was, what I found out was that I built my house on sandy ground.
Yeah.
Christianity was the sandy ground. I built this beautiful home, but it was on sandy ground. And now that I've come to the truth, now I'm building my house on solid ground. And now I got the Torah, the prophets, the gospels, the epistles. I got all of this to now work with. I'm not limited to just the gospel or the New Testament. I got all of the scriptures, all of the word now. And so I told myself, the next time I'm married, I am going to now practice polygyny. So I already went in before the next woman I got, my sister Bree now is my woman. I said, I'm going to practice that. And whoever comes into my family needs to know I will be taking on other women. And the reason why, just logically speaking, in the flesh, I'm going to diversify, because women are unstable. They're emotional. They're unstable. One of the mistakes that I made in Christianity and I fell for the trap, was I got the marriage license. So that's what made it sandy ground. I got the marriage license. You don't give your strength to a woman. That's what it says in Proverbs 31:3. A mother is telling her son, who's a king, do not give your strength to a woman. You can see in Proverbs 31:3. Well, by me getting the marriage license, it literally gave the woman the strength to destroy kingdoms, to destroy my whole house. So that was mistake number one. So I told myself, the next time I get with a woman, there will be no government involved, because the government do not care about your family.
Nor is it their responsibility.
It's not their responsibility. And so I told myself, I'm not going to do that. And so when people say, well, aren't you doing something illegal? No, it's only illegal if I get 2 marriage licenses. I'm not getting any marriage license. I will be legally single for the rest of my life. I only have one legal wife, and that'll be it. And now we divorced, but that will be it. So I told Bree, who came in, I said, hey, I will be, I joke around, but I kind of mean it. So we'll see if it's true. But I said, I plan on having 94 children. And I remember she says, we're going to need help. Exactly. We are going to need help. So, because she knew she can't produce 94. And so that's what made me open to it, because I wanted to diversify.
I just want to say 94 is your football number. In case y'all didn't get the joke, that was his Green Bay Packers number. Go ahead.
But I'm getting close. I'm at 12 right now, so I'm working that number right
now. That's a nation building right there. You're building your own football team.
Hallelujah. I got 9 boys, 3 girls, but we getting there. So now so how I got into it after 3 years of being with my woman in the truth. Now I've been that straight way. I'm an elder there now, and I had a sister. Now I've actually knew this sister longer than I know my woman. And when I say woman, just so for people who is hearing this stuff, that's wife. But wife is a legal term, so I try to stay away from legal terms. But so if I say woman, that's what I mean. My woman that I have a covenant relationship. But my woman, I was with her for 3 years. And while I was with her, there was another woman who came, Pastor Dow. Once again, I got to, people say, why you keep mentioning pastor? But I got to mention the truth because I can't tell the story. But when I was in Christianity, they told me to put my dad in assisted living, because he's getting old. He has Parkinson's disease. He was living with me. And during the time I was in Christianity, the pastors were telling me, hey, Kabir, they were kind of trying to tell me in a nice way. And that's why I just learned about Christianity. They're very cold-hearted. They said, hey, you need to be focused on your wife. The Bible says, leave your father and your mother. This is what they told me. Leave your father and your mother and cleave to your wife. And that's how they justified assisted living. And they say, well, Kabir, in the Bible, they didn't have assisted living, but now that they have it, you should use it so you can focus more on your wife, focus on the family. See, I believe now I don't focus on the family anymore. I focus on Yeshua. So it's not about the family. It's about Yeshua. It's about him first, and then everything else follows. So my dad was in assisted living for the last 2 or 3 years, right this. So when my woman left, my wife left me, my legal wife left me, Pastor Dow, the first thing he told me, he says, hey, some brothers, we put our stuff together, we start fellowshipping, we end up starting a little community. And pastor said, hey, your dad should not be in assisted living. You get your father out. We will send you a sister to take care of your dad. I mean, this is the pastor telling me, don't worry, we'll get you a sister, a single sister that can help you to take care of your dad, that knows how to take care of the elderly. Said, great. So all the brothers came and helped me. We got our stepdad out. I'm not paying $3,000 a month anymore. So that was saving 40 grand a year. So I got my dad home. I said, Dad, we coming back home. He was happy. But bro, my dad, he's a Muslim. Okay. To this day, he has so much respect for Pastor Dow because he didn't want to go in. He begged me not to go. I said, Dad, you're just around the corner. I'll take care of you. He begged me. So he was real happy when he finally got to come home. And I really believe him coming home, it allowed him to live a longer life than he would have if he was in that assisted living, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying the assisted living is bad. It's just not good for people to put their family in.
Yeah.
So anyway, I brought in the girl that came in. There was a girl that came in. She told me straight out, I want to be your concubine. I said, okay. And pastor said, don't sleep with her. I was like, Pastor, you don't have to tell me, she's not even, she's not my type like that. I mean, I don't prefer her anyway, but if it works out, it works out, but she can't work on that. Well, long story short, she quit 3 months. She says, okay, this guy, because she was trying to, do some flirtatious thing. And I just wasn't budging, but I'm very disciplined on that one. So she quit after 3 months. I'm like, dang. And we back together. We thought we were all happy, and she left. And then Elder Mitchell, there's an elder in our ministry called Elder Mitchell. It's actually Pastor Dow's son-in-law. He reached out to me. He's part of another community, straightway community in another community. It's in Kentucky. And he calls me and he's like trying to say, hey, God put it on my heart. We have a sister. We know you have a need. This is the type of love you get at Straightway. She's a single mom. She's a widow and she got 2 children. He was really trying to let me know she got 2 children and you don't have to take her, but I just wanted to offer. I'm like, bro, we'll take her. But he was,
this was a different woman.
This is a new woman because this is the replacement.
Okay, because first I thought when you told me the story, it was the first woman.
No, not the first one. But
the first one was trying to get with you too.
The first one, the first one. The second one, I didn't know about the second one. The one I'm with now. The first one told me straight up she wanted to be with me.
Was she a single mom too?
No, she was just a single sister. She was
okay. She was just a single sister, and she was just wanted to be wife number 2.
Yeah.
But the other, the part of the story that touched me was the one that you have now, number 2, or second wife. The second woman that came along, she had 2 kids. And how were they when you just made this decision? And tell that story about how those kids reacted when they heard.
Yeah. So the children was like, I think I want to say 5. I want to say 5 or 4. They were young. Yeah. Now they're 9 and 11 and 9 right now. So, or 12 now. So they've been here for a while, since 2018. So forgive me on the numbers if I don't know the numbers here. But so anyway, so when I finally decided to take this woman on, now you have to understand, Rob, I wasn't attracted to her like that. I didn't, there wouldn't be a woman that I would have naturally preferred from the get-go. It wasn't like, oh, that girl's look, it wasn't even that. I saw her here as a sister. I treated her as a sister. I was a father to her children. because as the head of the community, it's my job to take care of any of the single sisters. Who are they going to go to? So
sure,
as the head of community. And so if the children need a discipline or any type of talking to, they need a man figure. So I kind of played brother, but I was really a father to those children. So they had all their needs met and everything. So as time went on, I eventually got another woman, got married. She's with me this whole time. She actually taught the woman that came to help me with my dad, actually taught my woman, Bree, the first one now. She actually taught her how to take care of my clothes and things of that nature, because now she's new. So now we got 3 sisters in the community held from a different house now. But there's another brother. But anyway, long story short, so now she's lived with me this whole time with another. She sees me with this other woman, but she's wondering who's going to want to be with me, who's going to cover me. And because I'm the head of community, she's getting counseling. And people are coming to me and say, hey, I'm interested in that sister. I'm interested in that sister. And because they have to go through me to kind of figure that out. And then one time, Pastor did something on his blog talk and said, hey, Kyrisha, that's her name, Kyrisha. She said, she kind of put it out there that, she's a sister out there and boom. And so everybody started hitting up Pastor and say, I'm interested. So I put my bid in and said, Pastor, I'm interested. And the reason why I was interested, not because of the fact that, she's fine or that, it was more like, whoa, wait. If guys get her, guess what? I'm going to lose my caretaker for my dad.
Dude, I love your honesty.
Yeah, and the reason why I want to be honest because I want to show you how Yah did a work in me.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like, man, she's a good sister. Because I got to know who I'm laboring among. She loves the Most High. She loves Him. She's passionate. She's a good mother, a good sister, and I didn't want to lose her and not at least give an opportunity to put my bid in, right?
Yeah, man.
I put my bid in, but then the stipulation for me that I was struggling with was, wait a minute, she sees my dad's nakedness. And the Torah talks about something about these types of relationship. But after further review, we looked at it, it was more about my dad not seeing her nakedness. But it never said anything about her seeing his nakedness because she has to help him out and stuff. So once I got the green light that I could cover her,
I love that.
Then Pastor said, hey, take her, but take her as a concubine, just to play it safe, because we're still trying to understand the Torah as we live this out. We know in part, right? Yeah. And so anyway, once Pastor finally gave the green light, and I'm just speeding up, but she gave the green light, I told Kyrisha, and we eventually had to tell the children, and I told her first, and we worked it out, and she was happy, very happy. And then I told the children. And because the children kept asking, when are we going to get a dad? When are we going to get a dad? And so I said, hey, guys, I got good news. I said, hey, your mother's going to be covered. I'm going to be covering your mom. And they were just like, Baba, we got a dad. I mean, because there's other children in the community. You got a dad. It was just, bro, it was like we won the Super Bowl. Yeah. And in our culture, I say Nigerian culture, but it is a language, Yoruba culture. Instead of saying father, we said Baba. So they used to call me Brother Kabir. Now it was Baba. And they kept saying Baba, 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 Baba. Every moment they could say Baba, 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 Baba. I said, okay, calm down. Like they were that excited. And then DeAndre, my son from Kyrisha, but he came to me, says, man, I said, how's mommy doing? Mommy is very happy. She had been happy. Like they could tell that she was just happy. But what was so cool about this stuff, if I can rewind just a little bit, during the time when I was transitioning my mind to cover this woman, I had concerns. Can I love her properly? Sure. Being that I didn't necessarily prefer her, right? Right. I'm not necessarily attracted to her physically right now at that moment. I'm kind of going back there. And I remember taking a shower and I'm just praying like, God, is this of you? Because, and I said, but God, I'm not attracted to her like that. And I remember something dropped in my spirit. God looks at man looks at the outside, but God looks at the heart. Mm. I went to my dad and I told him what I was considering. And I said, but Dad, and he says, you're concerned about the face. You say you're concerned about this stuff. He says, she's a good woman. And the reason, and I'm telling you, out of any woman I've ever been with, my dad is not a talker. Out of every woman I've ever been with, this is the first woman he's ever endorsed in my whole life. And the reason why is because she takes care of him. So she understands. I mean, she got to do a lot of nasty stuff to get my dad. And so I had confirmation in the spirit, and I had the second witness with my dad that said, you know something, I'm going to cover her. And I'm glad I had, because my woman, Kyrisha, is like, she's a diamond in the rough.
Mm-hmm.
And she's an amazing sister to my my first wife. And I said first one, but Bree. I mean, she has been a huge support to her as she transitioned, because even for first wife, she's an amazing woman. And even though this has been not an easy transition for her, and I'm just being honest with that, because she grew up in America. They all came in, but she grew up in America, and she was taught the Cinderella story, one man, one woman only. But she loves me. She loves Yah. She loves me, and she's here.
Yeah,
And she's working through it, fighting all the lies that she's been told about monogamy and being and seeing the selfishness in her own ways.
Yeah.
So I commend her. Some people say, well, how come she's just not overjoyed? I said, you know something? There's some people that can fake it and say they're overjoyed, but I know she loves me because she's still here.
Yeah.
And she's still doing my will.
Yeah.
What did Jesus say? If you love me, you will keep my commandments. In my Christian marriage, guess what? My first wife would say, I love you, I love you, I love you, but never was obedient, never did my will. There was a 40% chance she would do it or not.
Right.
This one, don't tell me she loves me, but she does my will.
Yeah.
And I know she loves me. And so I'm proud of her. And obviously I'm proud of the second one I got. So you can see that. And I had the resources too, Rob. You have to understand that now. This means that polygyny is for everybody? No, polygyny is not for everybody. I was talking to somebody today. Polygyny, I'm not saying polygyny is for everybody. I could afford to take care of her. I was already taking care of her already. The only thing we add is what? What do we add, Rob?
Commitment.
Well, commitment.
Responsibility, covering. You mentioned covering.
But I was already doing that. The only thing that we added was sex.
Yeah.
It was sex. And now guess what? She gave me a beautiful daughter. And Yah willing, she's going to give me another one. She's 37 years old. She's even her range. She's So
I just want to mention a couple things. One, I want you all to make note of how committed he was. He was so committed to the point that he was worried about something that he read, that her seeing his father's nakedness, that he wasn't going to go down that path. And then he had to go back, research the script. I'm like, I don't know many people that are that committed. Like, that's some serious level of commitment right there. And the fact that, like, you made a pragmatic decision. I don't know that love was supposed to be this fairy tale. I'm going to fall in love one day. And like, no, it was like, hey, she's a good woman. She needs a covering. She's helping me out. Boom. We're helping. And that, I mean, isn't that what the Bible says? Like, your brother's widow, marry the brother's widow, give her a baby because we want the name to live on. That wasn't falling in love. That was a pragmatic decision. This is your responsibility. You do this because this is the right thing to do. So, like, I just really, in addition to the fact that I learned that the odds of a woman over 35 years old, that she's divorced or widowed, the chances she's going to find a husband are not in her favor. They're actually against her. And the older she is, the worse they are. Now, this woman's got 2 kids. That makes it even harder to find him, much less a good, godly man. Like, they might find a pagan to marry him. But we look at this imbalance in the church, 20 million more women than there are men in the church. And then we wonder why a woman goes out and dates a man that's not married and marries a guy that's not a Christian. We scratch our heads and go, I wonder why she did. Like, what is she going to do? Sit around, never have sex again, not have anybody cover her? And I love that you use that word, because that's really what it is God wants women covered. He wants a protector. And, the fact that you're able to do that for her and her kids, when 1 in 3 children.
In Christianity, how do they take care of their widows? From all your experience in Christianity, how are widows taken care of in the Christian church?
They're supposed to remarry if they're under 60.
I know, but how have you actually seen it in Christian churches? Widows being taken care of in the Christian church?
Maybe like a small group or something. I don't know.
Small group, or something like that. We take care of our widows. They are taken care of. We don't tell them to go to the government. We cover them. Either they'll be on the community. And this woman, like I tell you, she was single for 8 years. She was a widow for 8 years. No one was covering her, but the church was covering her during that whole time. And now she has a man.
Well, I love it. And you said that she's still here too. And I just wanted to point that out, because the kind of man that you have to be able to be a polygynist, you're going to have to, number one, be able to provide and protect them. They're going to have to look at you and go, this man is so unique. He is so special that I'd rather be with him than be with this guy over here by myself. And you're going to have to treat that woman really good, or else she's going to bounce. So like, there's a lot of people always think it's just the man. I'm like, no, think about the man you have to be able to do it. You have to be a really special man in order for that woman to choose to be in that relationship with you. So
women are hypergamous. They are hypergamous.
Yes, they're hypergamous. They want to date up. They want to date a man that more social status, better looking, more money, whatever, better educated. Mm-hmm. So, and this is why men need to achieve. This should drive us to want to do better. And I believe, that's the way God wired it, because nothing motivates a man like a woman. Like that's going to drive us to succeed more than anything. Men have fought wars for women. So, yeah, dude, I just thought that was a beautiful story, especially with the kids. Like.
To this day, I mean, if I can read a passage here, if you don't mind, if I can read it. This is out of the book in the Apocrypha. We use the Apocrypha. It's called Sirach chapter 14. It says, be as the father unto the fatherless, instead of a husband unto their mother. So thou shalt be as the son of the Most High, and he shall love thee more than thy mother doeth. So literally the act that I did of being a father first. So that was a true. I didn't even know I was doing that. I read, oh, this is what I'm doing. I saw it after I covered her. I said, literally, I was a father to the father, because that's how Yah described. He is a father to the fatherless.
Yeah.
So I was a father to the father, and then I became a husband eventually. And so, and my son, DeAndre, Aryan, they love me. They love me. They're thankful because I rescued. It's like I became a redeemer. They've been grafted. They have been grafted into my home. So you even understand what it means to redeem, what it means to be grafted in. Like you truly get an understanding when you get to walk out the word, and nothing, and you can't say, "Oh, this is done away with." I get to fully live out this word to my fullest, and it's exciting.
That's good stuff, man. Let's talk about Straightway a little bit. Yeah. So why do you think they get a bad rap?
Because they tell the truth. Yeshua says that's going to happen in John 15. He says that you will be hated by all men because of him. We are hated because of our commitment and our love to Yeshua. He chose us out of the world. And so the reason why Straightway is hated is because they don't cater to man, to woman. Pastor Dow preaches the word of Yah straight up. And he, like you said, you heard him talking about fat pat preachers, or Pastor, he will call out if you're fat. He will call you out if you're a whoremonger, if you're a drunk, if you're rebellious, if you're a Jezebel. There's nothing that Pastor Dow will not touch. You just hope, oh, this is the week, and he will. That it's not him, it's the word. That word cuts. He does not avoid the hard topic. There's nothing that. The only thing I fought Pastor with, and I'm not going to lie, this is the only thing that I fought Pastor on, because I heard it so much in Christianity. Pastor does not talk about tithing, but other than that, he talks about everything else. Now he's talked about giving and tithing, but that's not. But in Christianity, you heard it all the time. That's the one thing they pull from the Old Testament is tithe your money, because that's why I gave millions of dollars, because that was preached. But holiness is what's being preached at Straightway Truth Ministry, and Pastor Dow not only preaches the word. This is key. He lives the word. Pastor Dow don't live in some home isolated. Pastor Dow himself lives on community. He is the head of a community that we call it the Hub, Straightway Truth Ministry. So it's just, that's why I think he's hated. He's hated because he tells the truth.
How many people are part of Straightway, part of that community down in Texas?
In Tennessee?
Tennessee, sorry.
Maybe close to 30, maybe. It's 30? So yeah, but then there's people surrounding that comes to the service and things of that nature. But there's people that live on community, and then we have people that's offlanders, off community. And then you really see the size of the true people who are committed to Straightway, those who come for the feast. So we do keep the holy feast. We keep Passover. We keep unleavened bread. We keep Pentecost, and we also keep the Feast of Tabernacles. But all of them too. But we meet that 3 times a year at the Hub. So you see thousands of people coming from all over the world. When I say all over the world, we got people from Canada, we from the UK, from all over the world, coming from all over the United States, coming over for the feast and everything. So
can you be a white
truth, huh?
Can you be a white boy and join the church?
We have elders. We have elders that are so-called white or Caucasians. So yeah, we call anybody See, I tell you, I'm an Israelite in the flesh, but more importantly, I'm an Israelite in spirit.
Yeah.
So yes, we have people who you will call Caucasian or white. They are Israelites too, because they've been baptized in the name of Yeshua. They've been baptized in the Holy Spirit. So they are an Israelite because they have eyes to see and ears to hear. That's what makes you an Israelite.
Now, these people that are living there, they have jobs outside of the community, and basically it really is like Acts, if what you're it sounds like, where everybody puts their money together and they give to each person as they have need, and that's kind of the way they're living.
Yeah, so some people have jobs outside, some people got jobs just on the community, because depending on what your community is. I know at the hub they have cows, and they have livestock they got to take care of. There's things they got to be taken care of on the land. There's got to be, so it just depends on what the community is. Like here, our community, we have businesses. So we got guys that go out and they build for a living. And then whatever they raise, they donate that to the hub here, to the community up here. So we have ways of, we are self-supported ministry. We know we're not really big on people. We don't get a lot of money necessarily coming in. It's more about us, what we can raise by just our own efforts.
Gotcha.
So
sounds awesome. I mean, I remember when I first read that, and when I first became a Christian, and I read how the first Christians lived, I was like, man, what a great way to live. That must have been so rich, like to live in real community like that. I'm sure there's challenges with it though, because there
are challenges.
Yeah, you got people, right?
You know what the challenge is? You find out how selfish you are.
Yeah,
that's how I find it. I would liken living on community like polygyny, and this is what I mean. So like right now, you probably live in your own house, you get to do what you want, but when you live in community, guess what? There's nothing that's called your own. You share everything in common, right? You got to share the bathroom. You got whatever your situation is, right? And you start learning, like, what does it truly mean to love my brother? What does it really mean to love my brother? Well, like we share the same car, whatever the case is. Well, guess what? In polygyny, it's the same thing. It's a community of women. They got to share the same man. And you really learn how selfish you are. So women can be on community. They love community because they get to cook together. They get to share their cooking duties, their cleaning duties. But now when you put a woman with another man, where they got to share it, that's when they start really living community. They really start learning how to love Yah and how to love their sister. Meaning what it really means to love your sister is you love yourself.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges with that, with polygyny? Because something I'm thinking about doing myself. I mean, it depends if God leads me.
From the woman perspective, I mean, what you?
Well, I guess from your perspective, what have you found? It's like some of the biggest challenges. Is it like dividing the time? Do you have a favorite? That was always the thing. Like I've always known, even before I discovered this information, I always knew deep down that I would be more. Polygyny would just feel more natural. I didn't even know the term polygyny. I thought it was polygamy. But I just always knew that if I wasn't a Christian, I would probably be into some kind of weird relationship structure is what I thought. But I would never have considered it because my heart was devoted to the Lord, which is why 18 of the last 23 years I've been single and sexless. It's not easy to do. But I always thought, in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm sure there's, like it probably sounds good on paper, but it's probably really a mess. Like you're going to have a favorite and it could be chaotic because the women and the jealousy and all the things. I would imagine that because I guess I was just trying to dismiss it from my mind as like, it really wouldn't be as good as it looks. Like, I think that's probably what men want to do because I think that a lot of men probably think about this. I think men crave variety, which is why there's, the infidelity rates are so high. So in reality though, like, what are the biggest challenges with it?
I would say the biggest challenge is that, first of all, I look at polygyny. I was a business major. I studied as a business management was my emphasis. And so I really kind of look at polygyny as just running a business. I'm the CEO. My women are like my either my VPs or my managers, and my children are like my employees, right? And so I kind of look at it from that perspective, or like a coach. I'm the head coach. And maybe your first 2-3 women, they are the coordinators. You may have an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special team, or then you may have position coaches. Other women coming in, they may be the position coaches, but then you have your players, which are your children. So I kind of look at it from that perspective. But I think the challenge that I have experienced so far up to this point is just really helping my first one, just really trying to overcome all the lies that she's learned. She went to a Catholic school and just living up in America and just being selfish. But like I said, she's doing good. She's gotten better every day. She's fighting it, learning. But it's not like they have cat fights. It's not like it's just that I want her to, I just want her to be where I'm at, where I'm enjoying this. You know what I'm saying? So it's not. So when I say the chance, not like they sit there and argue. They work well together. They help each other. If they need to watch a baby. One time, I think that when my concubine, when she had the baby, she had to get stitched up because she tore a little bit, and the baby was crying and needed to be breastfed. Well, guess what? My first one breastfed her. Literally breastfed because she had milk, so she breastfed her. So they worked there, and then she just had a baby, and she's in there helping her massage her back. She even told me, she says, "Master." They refer to me as Master. Nothing wrong, but
I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's gonna women that are watching are gonna hate that.
No, but I was trying to massage her back because she's a doula. I was trying to massage her back, and I'm just a man trying my best to figure this thing out. And then my concubine, she comes in there, Carisha, she comes in there and she massages. She's like, she said, "Hey, you're gonna retire." I like what she does. So they're working with each other. They're helping. Yeah. It's just such a beautiful thing. Dude. To see them working together, loving one another. Like when I see them loving each other and working and supporting, like right now she's in purification, meaning she doesn't really, associate with everybody because she's unclean for 80 days because I had a daughter. Well, guess what? Who's taking care of the two that she had? Her sister wife. She's the one that's taking her, giving them a bath. I'm even helping out a little bit and because they're short staffed. And it's just the love that you see them operate is like, wow, this is so amazing. It's amazing. So, but I would say that's the only challenge is just that. But from there, and then when it comes to time, you talked about time. Now I'm gonna be honest, in the beginning, because I was like, okay, how do you do this? Because when you first did it, you're kind of sneaking off to the second one because you know that the first one is kind of, sad, so you're like, do you sneak? I'm like, why am I creeping? I'm not gonna be creeping. This is nothing wrong because you try to change it in your mind. So the transition was weird because now it's one thing to talk about it, is a whole nother thing to practice it, right?
Yeah.
And then I try to do this equal the time. Okay, we're gonna do this, and I didn't feel like I had the pressure because she's a concubine, so I didn't feel like I had the pressure. I got to be equal. But I already say, something, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this equal stuff anymore because for me, I felt like I became a slave. And now it revolves around them. And now I'm just this guy that they just want to just do me all the day. You know what I'm saying? No, I said, Poor guy.
I'm being sarcastic, brother. From a man who hasn't had sex in like 5 years, I do not feel sorry for you.
So I just said, it's kind of like, I have a lot of, before, I had my Job moment. I call it my Job moment. I did have 7 children, right? I had 6 boys and 1 girl at the time, right? And I liken it like this. All of them are uniquely different, right? Even though they came from the same father, same mother, right? But I didn't spend equal time with each and every single one of my children. Some had more needs than others. Some wanted that attention. Some didn't want the attention. They could be by themselves. And so it's more about being equitable than being equal, if that makes any sense. And so I believe polygyny is the same way. Like my second one, Carisha, she's a mature woman. She's 37 years old. Me just talking, I like talking to her. She's a good conversation. She's a little bit closer to my age. And so I can talk to her about spiritual things and just bounce things off of her. I can spend time with her and she just need a little here and there, Now, my other one, who's the first one, she's on the younger side. She needs a little bit more attention because she's still working through this stuff. And so, but just because I'm with her doesn't mean I'm doing anything. I could just be with her, So
sure.
Really just you as a man, you need to be aware of your community, even as a community head. I got brothers who I talk to every day. There's some brothers I don't see all the time, but I'm checking in on them. So it's just like being a gardener. You're going to plant if I get this water, I got to get this water. No, this one needs this much water. This may need a little bit of this. This may need a little pruning. So it's kind of like being a gardener, pretty much.
That's useful advice for me. Seriously. I want to mention that we're going to have a polygyny debate on this channel. Well, on my channel on December 21st. It's a Thursday at 9 p.m. I have Pete Rambo and I have one other guy that goes by Bible Marriages on Facebook. Really smart guy. And I have 2 ordained ministers, 2 pastors that are going to be on the opposition side. One guy, Mike Holloway, Pastor Mike Holloway, you can look him up. He's an internet debater. He's got some videos on YouTube. He's a sharp guy. And they're going to discuss biblical polygyny. So I know there's going to be people in my comments that are going to be like, this is wrong. Like, I already saw one comment. Polygyny is a sin. And so I'm like, we're not going to go too deep into that in this conversation because it would just take too long to explain it. But I invite you to tune into that because that'll be very much in depth in that area. But you mentioned like
You should get Pastor Dow in there in that debate.
You know what? Maybe we'll expand it to 3
too. So
Pastor Dow, if you're willing to come on, I'm extending the offer to you. We'll do 6 instead of 4. I'll do that because I would love to have you on there.
He's been doing it. I mean, I know Pete Rambo. He just started, but Pastor's been doing this and he has a beautiful home. His home is orderly. So it's one thing to talk about it.
Yeah.
But he has I think 3 or 4 now, and he's doing a great job in showing us how it's kind of like. Would you rather go to a pastor who only has his one wife, and you have a second wife, and you're trying to get help and counsel? Right. Like, I'm glad I can say I have a pastor that if I'm having issue with my 2, I can go to one who has 3 or 4. Right? Yeah. I can. He will know how to navigate me through. Okay, this is what you need to do, or you need to spend whatever the case is.
Sure.
But a person that doesn't have that can't even really help you.
Love it. So good, man. So yeah, please, Pastor Dow. Yeah. If you're watching this, I would love to have you December 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you're free at that time, let's make it happen. You mentioned like how the one woman was taking care of the other children. I was like, it's just people say that like this is. Can you imagine what it would be like? And I'm like, so this is the way it is now. You go to work. Usually your wife goes to work. You ship your kids off to daycare. And then, or maybe the school, you're not raising them. They're being indoctrinated by who knows, right? Who knows what. And then that's actually, you're saying that's better. And they're like, you better make a lot of money if you do this. And I was like, why? I said, look, the gas and electric's paid. All the fixed expenses are paid. The mortgage, the house payment, some extra food for a third person when that person could literally be the person staying at home taking care of the kids. I think that would probably be cheaper.
I can tell you as a financial advisor, this is my personal opinion and my professional opinion, but let's just stay personal because I don't want to make this I'm mad to get this cleared. But anyway, when I was with my first wife, my legal wife, right? Do you know how many because this was during that time I was playing. You know how many babysitters? I was spending $10,000 to $12,000 a year on babysitting. Because you had games, you do this, you take your wife on a date night. That's a whole nother world. But you're doing all these things, and then you get a babysitter maybe the first 3 years, and then she has to go off to college. Then you have to find another babysitter that you trust, and then they go off. And I remember one time there was one girl that we got because we were running out of babysitters. We were having so many children. We got another one that was recommended to her. We didn't know who she was. Then she brings her boyfriend over. We were on our date night. Boom! We stopped the date night. We went and said, "Bro, no." Because people know your children walk in, seeing them doing stuff like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah.
And now I got my woman. This is my woman, right? She's taking care of my sons, even though it comes from another woman, but they still come all from me.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about that stuff because she's in my house. I don't have to pay no babysitting fees.
Yeah.
I don't have to send them to school. We homeschool. That's another thing too. You get to homeschool now. You have many hands make the work light. So, right. I mean, you save way more money than outsourcing it because if you're doing it just one man, one woman, you got to outsource everything. Cleaning the house, right?
Yeah.
I live in a big house, right? But guess what? When you have women, they can clean it together now.
Yeah.
But before, when I was playing ball, I had to pay for a clean lady. Right. I had to pay for a babysitting. I had to pay for private schooling. Money was just going out.
Yeah. Nation building.
Yeah, but I can do this forever. I can live like this forever. I spend less money now. More money stays in.
I thought so. And that's a big part of what I wanted to do in this conversation was overcome some of the misconceptions around polygyny, but also give you a chance to share your story. Mm-hmm. A theory I've had too is like, when trying to, I've been working through all this in my mind about, I wonder why God did this and how it plays out practically or in the real world. And one of the things I thought is, because it is somebody messaged on one of my posts recently. They said, if she lets you, I was talking about if a woman was to let you, take a second wife or whatever. I said, if she lets me, I was like, if it's my biblical right, I'm not going to marry a woman that I have to ask permission to exercise my biblical right with. So where I'm going with that is like, I believe that just a man's vocalizing the fact that it's his biblical right to take a second wife, even if he never does. What that does is it does subjugate the woman to the man because he has a right to, but she does not. And she knows it. And I believe because that creates polarity because that pushes her to her feminine, him to his masculine, keeps the difference, which keeps the relationship spicy. They probably have a better sex life. There's a lot of better things that come from that, whether he does it or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that he gets pushed into his masculine and her to her feminine, which is, underneath his headship. And I believe that's what keeps it healthy. And maybe then the divorce rate wouldn't be 56%. And maybe then of the people that stay married, that 44% of the people that stay married, they stop having sex after year 4 in monogamy only. Because I believe monogamy only creates equality almost, where she can't take a second. He can't take like this till death do us part, forsaking all the others thing, which did not come from the Bible, creates more of an equality, and then the women lose interest in the man eventually and don't want to have sex with him anymore.
I'll say this, like, before, you probably saying that, I play ball and had access, but I'm actually a boring monogamist. I'm very boring. I'm very very predictable. You know what I'm going to do. If I'm not at work, I'm at home. I'm very, systematic, right? I'm a planner by nature, right? I'm boring when it comes to monogamy. So yeah, you'll be happy like I got him, but then like, oh, he's boring, because I don't really play the game. They call it the game.
Yeah,
I don't know how to play the game. I wasn't a player, not player. You know what I'm talking about, right? A player. Yeah. So I didn't really do that stuff, but being a polygamist, being a polygynist, right? It naturally makes me be an alpha. And here's why. I still got work. I got 2 women I got to manage. I got to communicate. I got things that I got responsibility I got to do. And so because of that, no one woman has a monopoly on my time.
Right.
And so I'll even say this with my first, my new sister, Bree, I would just say Bree, but she was amazing. Compared to my first legal wife, she's blows her out of the water. In servitude, in obedience, in love, to me, I was like, wow. Like, you'll be like, you've had a woman, you'd just be happy just to have sex after 18 years. Like, wow. Like, she just blows her out of the water. I'm thinking like, man, this is good. I'm thinking like, man, I'm getting the best that she has to offer. This is it. But guess what? If I would have gotten a second one based off of her permission or waited for her, I would have never gotten a second woman. I'm just telling you that right now. But it wasn't based off of her. It was based off of what I was willing to do, what I wanted to do. So I got her. Now, let me ask you this, Rob, just to see if you can figure this out. Do you think, as great as my first one was in the truth, do you think that her performance got better when I took on the second one, or you think it went down?
Well, I already know the answer to this because you told me, and it is what I suspected. I suspected that her performance got better because, there's it's competition anxiety, or I don't know if we'll call it anxiety, but there's some competition there. So you got to step it up a little bit, right? Which is why I say the reason that I've gotten such pushback from women, I believe, Christian women, on this, talking about polygyny, is because they don't want to give up their right to get fat after they get married, deny the man of sex, and then recommend divorce court. And you take half of his shit, basically, if they choose to. This, unfortunately, they lose all that.
Mm-hmm. They lose all. Do you play sports, Rob? I mean, you look like you
a little bit. I mean, I wasn't very good.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you this. I actually practiced. I actually was in a polygynous relationship all my life. You know how I was in a polygynous? I played football. You had one head coach, right? Mm-hmm. And I played a position called defensive end, right? And in that position, I would love to be the only guy. There's no backup. You are the guy. You don't have to show up to practice, but on game day, you're the starter. I would love that. In my flesh, I would love that. Now, do you think I would be as good if I knew I had somebody on my back trying to take that position? My game always got better because of the healthy competition. Yeah. And I believe that that's what my women are experiencing, is that natural, healthy competition. I want the team to win. I just want to be the guy to get the sack. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So my women, look at they I want you to have babies. I just want the babies. I want the sack. I want to have the baby for you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You got to work through the envy, and you should be happy for your sister when she has a baby, and you should be happy and support one another, because when any one of you guys are having a baby, Team Kabir wins. That's what it's about. It's about Team Kabir. Just like when I got a sack or my teammate got a sack, Team Green Bay Packers win. That's a victory. And so trying to help my women to think more like a team player instead of being selfish. There's no I in team, we say, right? So is there an I in polygyny? I don't know. But
no, there's not.
But really trying to get them to have that mentality. But so so the beauty about me as a man, and I think any man, if they played any type of sports or any type of activity where they had to work together, that is the view I come in, so I can relate to what my woman is going through. I know what it's like to be the starter, and then I know what it's like to when they bring in somebody else as a backup. I understand the pressure, so I'm not going to sit here and say, "Well, why do you feel the way you feel?" I had these feelings. How can I judge her and say it's wrong that she feels that way when I felt that way as a player? And so I had to work through it. And so guess what? Because I had to work through that stuff, when I towards the end of my career, I got demoted back from a starter to a third down specialist. And so somebody else came in. And now I could sit here and pout on the bench and say, they're not playing me, or forget them. Or I could say, hey, I'm gonna be a good cheerleader for my teammate. I had to work through that. I'm gonna tell him hey, man, keep on doing it. And guess what? When I did that, I became even a better player, a better friend, a better, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
All this stuff. And so now I can help my woman to overcome whatever she's going through because I had gone through it too.
Yeah.
Just like Yeshua. What did Yeshua? He's not telling us to do something he didn't do. He literally lived here on the earth, lived a perfect life, was tempted in every single way. And he showed us that through him, we can also overcome sin. And so that's why I'm able to do that, because we have a Messiah who's done it. He understands so as a husband, I understand what my woman is going through and I can help her. She said, well, you can't relate. Oh, I can relate. I said, is this how you feeling? How do I know? Because I play football and I had to work through that stuff. I grew up in a family with 7 of us. I wasn't the only child. I had to compete for my dad's attention too. So I know what you're going through. And so it is, and even helping them in ways like this, because right now my woman, she has 3 now for me. She has 2 boys and 1 girl. And I asked her, we just had a baby girl. I said, let me ask you something. I said, do you love her more than you love these 2? She says, no. Like she said, no. Like what kind of question is that?
Right.
I said, really? Like, are you sure you don't love her? Well, you spending more time with this new baby. Well, she needs me. She needs milk. She's so vulnerable, but these are older. They can kind of do. I said, but I mean, who do you love more? I said, well, guess what? You don't even question who do you love more. Why do you question me?
Yeah.
I'm in the same situation you're in when it comes to my women.
Right.
So you try to help women to try to understand that a man can love multiple women, just like a mother can love multiple children that they've brought into the world.
Yeah, I've used that analogy before. Like, so you're saying what a parent shouldn't have more than 1 child? Because like that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a big difference in what women say they want and what they really want.
Yeah,
you know, like because they say they want. I just want you. I want to be with you and no. But the thing is if you look at what the numbers are right now, and people push back against this, but the majority of the women are sleeping with a minority of the men, right? They're like, they want, because they're hypergamous, and because women are doing better, they're making more money than they've ever made. They're getting, educated more than they've ever have. It shrinks the amount of the dating pool for them because there's only so many men above them. Mm-hmm. So 80% of the women, they say, are sleeping with 20% of the men. Some people say it's 95-5. I don't know if that's true or not, but majority. So they're already in polygamous relationships.
It's called serial polygamy.
Even though they say they want monogamy, they're choosing to be with men that they know they're probably not their only one, because the man hasn't wifed them, hasn't committed to them, but they're choosing that. So like, even though your wife says, she's pouting or whatever, she's still there. She hasn't left, right? I bet you guys probably have
performing better.
I'm guessing you have a pretty good sex life. Like things are, because it's the way God. I'm not saying it's for everybody, because I think monogamy is wonderful. I think monogamy only is unbiblical, and I believe that causes a lot of problems. Just the fact that it's a possibility, it's a man's right to do it, changes the dynamics of the relationship. Because a woman, she might not want you to take a second. And she's going to go and she's going to show up. She's not going to deny you sex. She's going to make sure the house, whatever the things is that you married her for, she's going to probably come through on those things. So you don't go out and find another woman, like maybe, I don't know, but I could see how that would be the case. And I don't know.
I always tell people, I said, I heard this saying, so I don't want to act like I invented this word, but somebody said, don't give a woman what they want, give them what they need. Yeah. See, if I gave my woman what she wanted, she would be the only one. Right. But I gave her what she needed. And because I got me another woman, she's now a better woman, a better sister, a better mother because of her sister. Right. So you see the dynamic. Now, because she has a love for Yeshua, the Messiah, because of her love, and she understands my divine right, she's here, and because she's staying with it, she's being sanctified. Hers not leaving and her staying with it, she's being sanctified through this process, and now is becoming a better woman than if she leaves. Yep. Does that make sense? And so women need this. Now, I'm not, like I said, polygyny is not for everyone. Monogamy is not for everybody, right? There's some people that were created just to be. Now, it seems like that's not your problem. You say, no, I'm done. I'm retired. I want to get back in the game. Yeah. But you got to be able to provide these women. You can't just, it's not about just having a side chick and banging them. I take care of these women. All these women do not have to worry about, they're being provided for.
Yeah.
So that's what you get. You give them safety, provision, security. All of that comes from me. I'm responsible for them. They belong to me.
Provision and protection. I believe the polygyny or the possibility, it's God's social welfare system.
Yes. Matter of fact, I was telling somebody, I said, the way if you look at the way the Bible, but if you look at the way Yah designed it, women, because I have a daughter, right? My daughter was designed in such a way, the way not her design, but the way the family structure is set up, a woman is supposed to be taken care of from cradle to grave. And let me show you how that works in the Hebrew culture. In the Hebrew culture, right now, I'm her provider for my daughter, right? Mm-hmm. One day she's going to get of age, and I'm going to, as her father, give her to her husband.
Right.
And it may be an older man who has other women already, but we're going to make a covenant, like, hey, I'll take care of her. And now he's going to take care of her, and he may die because he's an older man. He's going to die off. But her whole desire is to say, I want to carry a seed for this man, and I hope it's a son. And here's why you want a son. Because now when he's dead, that son now will be the one to take care of his mother. That's an inheritance, because inheritance wasn't passed from husband to wife. It was passed from father to son.
Wow, I didn't know that.
If you remember Yeshua, remember when Yeshua was I believe Yeshua was born, and this is my belief, my personal belief, my opinion right now, based off of what I've read. I believe he grew up in a polygamous home.
Yeah.
Because he was the eldest son of Mary. But we know that he had other brothers and sisters. It was mentioned in the gospel he had other brothers. But when he was on the tree, what did he say to John? He said, John, this is your mother. John, this is the woman. This is your son. Because he was basically handing on and say, hey, I'm now leaving. It's now your responsibility to take care of my mom.
So why do you think he was in a polygynous? Because I heard that somebody said that Joseph wasn't, Mary wasn't Joseph's only wife, more than likely. Where did you get that from? Because I know you had James as a brother. Was James older or younger? I mean, if James was older, it'd be clear because Mary was a virgin.
One, you don't hear about John. You don't hear about Joseph that much, right? So he had to be an older man.
Yeah.
And we know that he had other siblings. So if Mary had all those children, we would have heard that. So It sounded like she probably only just had Jesus. I mean, that we know that. I'll say this: when you live this culture, like every time when an American Christian read the Bible, you have to understand they're reading from the frame mind of their culture. Sure. Polygyny is not even an option. Everything they read, somehow they just read it monogamy. But I'm a person who's born in it. I'm a person who's living it. So when I read it, I can say, oh, okay, because that's how we talk. Like, okay, that's my son, Yeshua. That's Yeshua. Don't he have other brothers and sisters? I have 3 sets. I have 8 with my first one. I have 3 with my second one, and I have 1 with the. Guess what? And they're all siblings. See, in your culture, in the American culture, what do they call them? Oh, they're half. No, if you come from the father, they are full-blooded brothers and sisters. Whose name are they carrying? They're carrying the father's name. Now, I do have 2 that came from my second woman right now. I got 2. And they've been grafted into my home, but they're not my seed. Does that make sense? So my other sons I have from the other women, they would not be related. But the sister that I had with their mom, they would be half.
Right.
You can more say that's more of a half situation because they both share the same mother, but not the same father.
Right.
Does that make sense? So wherever it comes from the father, and how do you know this is true? Look at the 12 tribe of Israel. That came from one man,
4 different women. And God orchestrated that.
So he says, oh, that's my half brother. No, they're all sons of what? Sons of Jacob.
Yep.
Sons of Kabir. you know, and things of that nature. So
hit a Christian with that, because God orchestrated Jacob to have 4 wives by opening and closing wombs. How do you explain it? Like, I mean, you're saying that what the most of them were bastards, when Deuteronomy says that bastards can't go into the house of the Lord, can't worship. Like, you're trying to say the most of the house of Israel are bastards. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
He blessed Leah, I believe, for giving because Leah gave her servant to her husband.
Right.
Guess what? He said because he did that, he gave her another son.
Right. You know, so. Blessed her because she sinned. That's what people will say. That doesn't make sense. You mentioned about a woman being taken care of her whole life. I really thought that was profound, because I think about, like, the Bible is pretty clear about that, where a man is supposed to pay the bride price to the father. You know, he takes the woman shouldn't even move out of her parents' house till she gets married, and then the man's responsible for it. And the Bible says, don't put away your first wife. It talks about if a man sleeps with a virgin, you know, seduces a virgin, he has to marry her. What happens in monogamy only is he sleeps with a virgin or a younger girl, and then he leaves the wife and runs off with the younger girl, leaves the kids father. Like, this is against everything the Bible said to do. No, you guys stay with the first wife and continue to treat her just as equal as the second. You can't hate her. You have to continue having sex with her, provide for her. You can't diminish her you know, food and whatever it said. I forget what the other word was.
I was even personally accused of, from a Christian perspective, that when my wife left, the doctrine is I can't ever remarry, because divorce is not an option. And if I get with another woman, I'm committing adultery. Now, this is the thing. Yeah. So, okay, I have a call, or what do you call it? I have an edict to be fruitful and multiply. But the one that want to be fruitful and multiply is taken off.
Right.
Am I now and completely spoil the seed? What am I supposed to do? I'm trying to leave an inheritance. My inheritance just got taken out. So now it's natural for me to now want to get another woman to be able to produce seeds.
Sure.
A righteous seed, you know, not just to have, you know, unrighteous seed, but to have a righteous seed. And so, and that's the beauty about being a man, that I have the ability that if I do lose this batch, then I can find new ground to plant my seed. Think of it like agricultural. If you do gardening, we do gardens. We actually plant gardens.
Yeah,
the Bible tells us. But if you think of agriculture, you don't just plant one seed in one ground. You go to different grounds, and some ground may be full of thorns. Another one may be shallow. And some of these women are shallow. Right. Some of these women are among thorns. The cares of the world is taken away, and then you find that one good ground. And so even Yeshua is given a polygynist through agriculture. Who's the man? The Son of Man is the man that's spreading his seed.
Right.
And it's falling on all these different types of ground. And then it goes onto this one ground and produces 60, 30, you know, it just multiplies and everything.
Just to make sure we're clear, though, you're not saying go out and spread your seed amongst women that you're not going to marry. Like, number one, you should marry them first, but and you know, and I think some people had said, a friend of mine recently, or a guy I've gotten to know recently, said that understanding the definition of adultery from the Bible is kind of the Rosetta Stone that unlocks a lot of this stuff. Meaning, like, when you realize that adultery isn't just stepping out on your spouse, it's a married woman stepping out on her husband. A man stepping out on his wife is fornication. And now if he does that, he has to marry her to avoid fornication. But where was I going with that?
When you say marry, when you use the word marry, are you talking? Because like when I got with my second one, we didn't have a marriage ceremony. You know what our marriage was? I consummated with her.
So yeah, So I guess that's a great point, because I've thought about that, because that's the big thing people push back on. And I thought, I'm just going to do some kind of covenant ceremony, commitment ceremony. I'll have a pastor marry me in the eyes of God, not in the eyes of the government. But I'll know that I'm making a promise with God to take care of this woman until, or we're going to be together till death do us part. And if I take a second wife, she cannot divorce me, and that's my right to do it, whether I do it or not. But that's what I thought, like I wasn't just going to have sex with her, but I'm going to make some kind of commitment to her, covenant with her, maybe even a contract to provide, because I don't want her to feel like she's not protected if down the road I decide, like she could just think that maybe I'm just doing it for, my own benefit.
I have a covenant with both of my women, and in our culture, in our biblical, because we live a biblical lifestyle, women can't divorce a man. Only a man can divorce a woman. So what I mean by that is, so let's say I do want to divorce a woman, I'll have to write her a bill of divorce. I'll need to put it in her hands and then send her out of my house. That is biblical divorce based off of Leviticus 24, I believe. And so that's how you do truly divorce. She can leave, but if she leaves, she has to remain unmarried, because if she now goes and be with another man, so I left my man, like you tell me your story that we were talking about before the show. If she would have left, you better make sure, like, can I see that bill of divorce? There better be a bill of divorce from that man releasing her. It'd be like the Packers. It'd be like the Packers taking a player from Chicago Bears without them being released by the
because you commit adultery. If not,
they'll be committing NFL adultery.
I'd be committing adultery.
Yes. Yes.
Now listen. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to go too far down that one because
But I'm just telling you. But that's how we practice it. So both of my women, the last people they were with, all passed away. So I didn't need a bill of divorce or anything. Like I said, there was widow, and unfortunately the one that my woman was with passed away. But if I did have a woman that was with somebody, I would need to see a bill of divorce from that man. It'd be like, she's a property. I know people hate this, but she is the property of that man, and I need to know that she's been released, because I need to know I'm not trespassing against my neighbor. Because if I do that, then I'm committing adultery.
What if a woman was married to another man in the eyes of the government, just the traditional way, whatever, and then they got divorced for maybe it wasn't infidelity. I know, because I think that matters too. They got divorced. Are you allowed to remarry her in the eyes of God?
Well, that's a whole discussion, but I'll say this, okay? I'm just doing a broad brush, okay? If the man filed for divorce, then she's released, because he's the one that petitioned the court for divorce, right? But you have to understand, there's the legal and then there's the real people.
Yeah.
So all that's happened is the legal is, like, to me, I'm just being honest, and I don't have any bitterness towards my ex-wife. She did what she did. Like, to me, she's still my wife. In my mind, she's still mine. Why? Because we did have a covenant.
And you didn't file.
And I didn't file. She is my woman still, right?
Sure.
Because I have never given her a bill of divorce according to the Bible, and that's what we agreed upon. But we did legalize our marriage, right? So we took something that was done in the bedroom, and then we legalized it, right? And so then we just took our social security number and merged that together, right? So all that really got broken in the divorce court was the legal marriage, but there's still a covenant in place. Now, unfortunately, she did go on and got remarried legally to another man. So she's committing adultery. Right. And the man who's with her is committing adultery, because I have never released her to properly, because she took off. And once she took off, it's never been the same. So I've never been able to properly release her. And even if you look at 1 Corinthians 7, it says, if a woman do leave, it says literally, this is from God, not me. Paul said, not me. Don't leave your husband. But if you leave, remain what? Unmarried, or be reconciled.
Right.
And husband, don't put her away. See, I never put her away.
And dude, that makes so much sense, because I've wondered about that. Because it also talks about if you marry the whatever woman, you commit adultery yourself.
Yeah, Romans chapter 7. It says that if I can just, if you don't mind me, just
pull it up. While you look it up, I'm going to shout out some of the locations of people that comment, and then maybe we'll take a couple questions. It looks like we got somebody from Norway here, Kentucky. Let's see, Texas, Michigan, Mississippi, Wisconsin. Of course, Wisconsin's in the house.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for those comments, guys. Feel free to drop a question or two. If you haven't posted your location, drop it now. Give you a shout out. But yeah, read us that verse.
So Romans chapter 7, verse 2 says, for the woman which has a husband is bound by law to her husband. This is New Testament. So long as he liveth. I'm still alive. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. Not the state. We don't care about the state, her husband. So then if while her husband live, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from the law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. And if you go all the way down to like if you go to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 10, it talks, and this is what I was reading. I'll just read this again. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 10. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but Yah, the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband, but if she depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and let not her husband put her away. Meaning, don't just kick a woman out. If you're going to kick her out and you don't want to be with her, give her the proper bill of divorce so she can be covered.
Right.
You know, that's not right. That's because then no one. It's like I want to cover you, but I can't cover you because if I cover you, I'm going to be committing adultery. Right.
Gotcha.
And then the last one is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 39 says, the wife is bound by the law as long as her husband live, not the state court license. This is based off the husband's life. But if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord.
That's crazy because, you know, the Bible says, I want to say the Bible says adulterers don't inherit the kingdom, right? Yeah. So like you're rolling the dice here saying that, you know, you're hoping that God's going to be gracious, which he might, I don't know, but somebody said in the comments here, add Pastor Dow. Is Pastor Dow watching right now? Because I wonder if we can bring him in. I might be able to email him really quickly the link.
Yeah, you can. I can send you the.
Two different people said it. Yeah, if Pastor Dow, if you're here, let me know. I'll drop a comment, say hello, and I'll send you the link where you could come in and join us. Everybody would like to meet you.
Yeah, Pastor Dow's much wiser on this topic than I am. I'm just, but I will say that. So that's the mistake that I think a lot of people make is they think that they're free because of the legal system. The legal is one thing, but there is a covenant, and just laying with the woman and making that promise. So if she goes off, like even back in the days when people used to cheat, I remember in the locker room, oh, I got with your girl. But bro, when you say I got with your girl, you just literally acknowledge you committed adultery. Yeah. You acknowledge that's his girl and you slept with his girl. But that was part of our world. It was okay to sleep with another man's girl because they weren't married. You know,
what did the guy do? Then he bust like,
oh yeah, they'll be, you know, whatever. I'm just talking like this is the guy. Yeah. Well, they'll even joke around about it. That's not something you joke around about. Like I would never joke around. I slept with your wife. That's not something I wouldn't even want to admit that because that's a crime that is punishable to death. You don't sleep with another man's woman. So it's just I love Straightway. I love our culture. I love the Hebrew culture. So I'm not just an observant. I live this. This is my life. Yeah. And I see that I've done Christianity. Most people, I understand a lot of Christians, but Christians don't understand me. And the reason why they don't understand me is because I've done what they've done, but they haven't done what I've done. Yes. I'm living. When I read that book, it'll be like if you read a book on the NFL, right? You will read it, and I can read the same book, and you and I will get two different perspectives of reading that book. Why? Because you never played in the NFL. When I read it, I understand some things that they're leaving out because I know the culture. And it's the same thing when you live in this biblical lifestyle. A lot of Christians just don't know because they're looking at this from a Roman Catholic perspective. That's how they're looking, from a Roman Greco perspective and not from a biblical perspective.
Yeah. No, you know, everything's
Pastor Doug get in, or
I don't see anybody commenting. If he has, somebody said Shalom family a second ago. I thought maybe it was him, but it doesn't say it was. Pastor Dow, if you are here, drop a comment. Let me know that you're here. If you could, I'll send you the link to join us for a minute before we jump off. Somebody had a question here. It says, biblically speaking, what is the rightful role of the world's legal system when it comes to marriage?
What's the what?
The rightful role of the world's legal system when it comes to marriage. There's none, right?
There's none. There's none. Show me in the Bible. The Bible is that's what governs our marriage.
Got it.
So, okay, Pastor right here. Shalom. Tristan. I'm here. This is Pastor Dow. Now, I don't know. I'm seeing something from my end.
Oh,
he could be on my channel.
No, Pastor. I see. Okay, he might be, but let me figure out how to. Okay, I got it. Pastor Dow, I'm going to send you a link right now.
I think about the debate online. I usually like debating professionally environment with a moderator, face to face in person.
Okay.
That's the thing. He likes thing. He says, however, I will make a concession on this one. So he said he'd be willing to do the debate.
Okay. Awesome. Pastor Dow, I'm going to go ahead and drop it here in the comments. I don't know how else to do it. This is only for Pastor Dow.
You have a whole bunch of people.
Oh, wait a second. Hold on.
If you text it to me, I can text it to Pastor.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me figure out how to do that. I will. Hold on a second. Let me just. I'll do
You
it.
know how if you send it to me on Instagram, I can send it to Pastor.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. I'll do that right now. I just got to get it to my phone. Okay. Perfect.
You send it to my Instagram.
I'm gonna send it right now. I just got to get it to my phone from my computer to my phone. I just sent it to myself on Messenger. Here it is.
Yeah. This is where I learned everything from. So this is cool that he can.
Everything becomes so clear, like when you can break it down and explain all these things that I'd never really understood about, marriage, divorce, adultery. Like there's a lot of things that it seems so unclear, but they really don't have to be.
Exactly. Okay. You just sent it. You just texted it to me, right? Okay.
Yes, that's it right there.
Hey, Pastor, I'm texting it to you. I'm gonna send it to his thing. I'll even email it too, because he could be on his computer.
Feel free to drop a question for KGB or for Pastor Dow. Probably stay on for at least a few more minutes.
Pastor, I emailed it to you and texted to you, so you should be seeing Pastor Dow somewhere.
Okay, awesome.
Is there a link? Yeah, Pastor, I emailed it to you and I texted to you, so however you get it. But yeah, there's any questions, he said?
Let's see. When Pastor Dow talks about Christianity and let me put this up on the screen. It says, when Pastor Dow talks about Christianity and Christians as the accuser of the brothers, take a break. What does that mean? I think I was a shot.
I think people don't like when we talk about Christianity because we know living this life. So you have to understand, we're not Christians, because if you look up Christianity in the Bible, Christianity is mentioned 3 times in the Bible. 3 times, I think twice singular and once plural, but it's really the follower of Yeshua.
Yeah.
So if that's even a word, let's just go with, let's say that they said Christianity, because Paul knows nothing about the word Christianity, but let's just go with that. Then that means it was always the way that it'll be like, and please forgive me if I'm gonna use this, it'd be like what white people used to call black people, nigger, right? They use the N-word, right? We wouldn't refer to, we wouldn't go around saying, hey, I'm a N-word, right? No, we wouldn't use those words, right? And so, but when you look at how we refer to ourselves, hey, Pastor, shalom. But how we refer to ourselves as Hebrews. But yeah, there goes the great Pastor Dow.
What's up, Pastor? Looking jacked, bro.
Oh, mercy. Have mercy on me.
Have mercy.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Enjoying the discussion that y'all having there. I'm on my phone because the Elder Kabir sent me a link, but it was just a picture. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Oh, okay. How can I help y'all?
We were just talking a lot about you and the difference that you made in KGB's life and just how you're able to break down biblical truths. And I was like, well, if he's on here, actually, we had a couple requests to bring you on. 2 people said, add Pastor Dow.
No.
So I was like, well, let's see if he's here. And maybe if anybody's got any questions for Pastor Dow, anything that we talked about or anything that you'd like to ask him about, let me ask. I got a question for you, actually, that I'd like to hit you with. I have it here. I was going to ask KGB, but I'm going to ask you instead. Is there anything with Straightway Church that you wish the public understood better, or any misconceptions that you'd like to address?
Well, I mean, I think the best way to approach this, Rob, is I wish that everybody would actually pick up the scriptures, pick up the Bible and read it for what it says. If they do that, they'll be extremely clear about Straightway. The problem that we have today in this world is that we're used to going to the institutional churches, sit down and listen to a sermon where somebody tell us, they may read 1 or 2 scriptures, and then they tell you a bunch of stories. Here, we're literally students of the word. And so if people would actually just pick up their Bible and read it for themselves, they would be extremely shocked what's in that book. And it's so off the beaten path what we're doing today, because there's very few people that's actually trying to be obedient to the word. And when they see this, it hits them really hard, because they say there's no way. First thing they come up with, well, they're a cult. Well, whatever. I mean, Yahshua, he got accused of a lot of things. All of the apostles got put to death for following the way. We get it. But if people would just read their Bible, see what we're doing, read the scriptures, and then they'll find out that we're on the right side of history and not the wrong side.
Yeah, I say that all the time when people debate me in the comments. Ever since I started talking about polygyny, I was like, throughout history, the religious people always persecuted God's messengers. I mean, the prophets, the disciples, Jesus himself, they were always persecuted by the religious people because they were saying things the religious people didn't want to hear. Right? It's always what it was. So I'm like, this is no different. You think you're smarter than the Pharisees, who were wrong, and they studied the Bible their whole they memorized it, but they didn't even recognize Jesus right in front of them. So I just think, to me, it's very prideful to think that people, they get so locked into this Western Christianity mindset. When you say something that doesn't agree with it, they just slam you and think that they're so right, but they're really just like everybody before them. So
that's correct. That's very correct.
Somebody said Christians. Let's see if there's a question here. Let me put it up on the screen. Actually, how does biblical marriage culture, including polygyny, affect the development of sons and daughters, respectively? That's actually a great question, because I've heard a lot of people say, well, how are the kids going to be affected? And I was like, well, 1 in 3 kids right now are being raised in fatherless homes, so it's got to be better than them not having a father at all. But I will say, and this goes to kind of what you said, KGB, earlier, where you were basically being a father to these kids before you ever even married the mom. And their studies show that it's not even necessarily just a father. They said kids, just by having fathers in a certain neighborhood, the amount of fathers will dramatically decrease the negative effects of kids without, like you were being a father, to multiple women's kids before even marrying or the second. And I think that there's something to that, right? So that kind of shows you that you could be like, the kids are going to have the same results, whether it's a monogamous marriage or a polygynous marriage. Is what
obviously I have children from 3 different women, and obviously the ones that I lost, they're not getting the benefit of having a father, but the ones I do have, they can't tell the difference. You got my one with one woman saying to the other woman, Mama K or Mama Bree. I mean, they're all moms to them. They can't tell the difference between, like, oh, that's mom. I mean, they know that's their mom, but then they also know that's their mom too, because they're all my family. When we have a family Bible study or a family meeting, because I mean, I meet with the community, but I meet with my family. Guess who's there? My women and my children, and we read the word together. We do things as a family, So I think the development is going to even be better than what it was my first time around. I think they have a way better. My son that came from Carisha, DeAndre, he treats his my sons from my other women like it's his own brother. He's a big brother to them. So it's no different to me. I think it's good. What do you say, Pastor?
Well, society definitely is no champion of righteousness, especially when we look at the dysfunctional homes, and the society is just itself is coming unglued and coming unhinged. We see that the feminist movements today has definitely been instrumental in removing the headship of the authority of the man out of the home. And of course, just as well as I do, it takes a man to raise a man. A woman cannot raise a man. And so when you look at society, and then you turn around and you look at exactly what we're doing in restoring the biblical culture of the real, true family unit, you're watching the family being restored the same way that the patriarchs did. I mean, if people would read their Bibles, and I'm going to say a statement here again, the majority of the Bible, and especially in the so-called quote-unquote Old Testament scriptures, all written by polygynists. Some of the greatest icons that it was in the book, such as Abraham, Jacob, Moses, Elkanah,
Gideon, Solomon.
You can go on. The majority of those scriptures are all written by polygynous people. And so if they believe that the Most High Yah has a problem with it, they're sadly mistaken. So the problem is that when you have Western monogamous society is trying to bring forced monogamy upon the people, which I actually believe is totally 100% against what the scripture says, we're looking at what happens, and we're looking at what is in front of us when you look at a society that is given forced monogamy. And since it's forced, you're watching the destruction of it. And we all can tell that the end of the Western domination in this world is quickly getting ready to come to an end. And so, of course, also, you have all these different alternative lifestyles. in different ways. And you're watching the feminization of men today, where men are being reared and raised by drag queens and reared and raised by women. And now these women who are out of touch and out of tune with Yah, they're trying to make all the men just as effeminate or more feminine than they are. But when you have a home where there's a patriarch in it, where there's a man in it, where the patriarch was ruling, he is going to rear and raise those sons after the laws and statutes and commandments of the Most High Yah, and it will continue to keep our community growing. And in the face of this wicked world right here, at least we would have some type of beacon of light. So good, Pastor. People, get on me and they're like, did you see this Sister Wives show? And I was like, I didn't really watch that show, but I do know that guy had 3 consecutive marriages for 17 years. Now I heard it blew up on the 4th marriage, but I look at the average length of a monogamous marriage in this country is 8 years. The divorce rate's 56%. People like to brag like monogamy's killing it. They think they're doing so good. I'm like, have you seen the mess that we're living in? The rampant fornication, the record marriage, the rate of marriage has never been lower than it is right now. 5 out of every 1,000 people per year are getting married. That's the lowest it's ever been, because something deep down, even if they can't articulate it, men know that this monogamy only thing isn't right. Something's wrong here, and they just don't do it. They just fornicate instead, because and then the women, they're forced to fornicate, because what are they going to do? Sit around and be old maids? No. I know if I would have known this truth, I would have got married right after I met Jesus, within probably a year or two at the most, because I would have been like, if I want to take a second later, I can. And that would have made my life so much different. Like, I could have had kids in junior high by now. And instead I've suffered through all this freaking loneliness and, struggling with burning with lust at times. And what I tell people is most men won't do what I did. The only reason I really did it was because I got such a radical call in my life that I was almost scared to screw up. Most men will just go out and sin because they're like, what are they going to do? Well, Rob, I like to bring up this particular point right here. Of course, when people look at straightway and they don't have any idea that we're restoring the biblical culture just by living the lifestyle, they don't understand that if a man goes and asks a woman, would you like to be a part of my home? Would you marry me? That woman is saying, yes, she's making an agreement to it. She's saying it. And in some cases, they'll actually approach a good man and ask them, will you cover me? Right. And most people don't understand this, because now no longer does a woman have to settle for a mediocre man. She doesn't have to settle for a man that's just not cutting the mustard, if I can use those terms and be pure. She can look out and see a responsible man and she can look and tell that this man and his house is being a benefit to the community and stuff. And she can actually make herself known to this man and say, hey, can I actually be a part of this house? Would you please marry me? Would you consider marrying me? And then, of course, now it's up to that man if he would bring her into the house. And so a lot of times men get a stigma as if we're the ones that's trying to, quote unquote, force women. We can't force nobody. Y'all deals with free will and everything. But in this society, in this culture today, women are just not settling for anything if they're holy and righteous and they live set apart. They're looking out and seeing, I would love to be a part of that family because it's righteous and it would benefit me as well. But more than anything, I could be a good ish or good wife to that man right there. And I want to help that man build. And that's what this is all about. Yeah, you're right. Like we were just talking about this before, as women are already doing this. They're already in polygamous relationships because the majority, 80% of the women are sleeping with 20% of the men. Is everywhere I've read it, because they're hypergamous. They want a man that's a little bit above them, and because now they're better educated and making more money, it really has shrunk the dating pool for them. And what are the chances that one of these top tier men, these alphas, if you want to call them that, what are the chances that they're going to marry one when they have unprecedented sexual access to all these women? They're not very good, right? Because you're telling them that you get one ticket, you only get one. You got to give it to one person. They're like, screw that. I can go out and have sex with 6 or 7 of them at the same time if I want to right now. They're not going to do it. So something, really needs to change.
And if I can say even that too, if you really think about and I'm just thinking about just our people in our culture, men, especially with this feminization, the LGBT community, you're losing men either being incarcerated in jail, they're either becoming homosexuals or dying, so and that means there's more women than there are to men. So what are these women to do? You can't get with most of them because they incarcerated. A lot of them now turn into this other lifestyle where they only being with man. So you got these women, they got to do they go gay too? Or do they, the guy that can afford and has the ability to take them on and add them to their family and build?
Yeah. Hey, I just recently married. I've been recently married to this young damsel, young woman for about, I don't know, maybe a month now. One of the best choices, best decisions I've ever made in my life. And she just happened to be one that actually made herself known to me, actually. Mm-hmm. And of course, I said yes because I had an interest, no doubt about it. But I'm talking about someone that is just spiritually beautiful, naturally beautiful, and I mean in every single way, a Proverbs 31 woman. Every single way, in every facet. And she in herself is going to be such an example to all the younger women that's coming with her and behind her, that she would inspire the women in Israel to really, truly want to be a Proverbs 31 woman, be a righteous woman to a righteous man. And man, what type of seed will we be able to produce? Because right now, we're outnumbered by the seed of the wicked. Mm-hmm. The seed of wicked is multiplying past the righteous exponentially more than we can ever even keep up. But that's the reason why we live set apart. We live set apart so we can follow the law, statutes, and commandments, the rules and guidelines of the Most High God, do exactly what he says, and raise a righteous nation. That's what this really, truly is all about. And the women, they can really, truly be the first line teachers at home, chase keepers at home to their children, to the family, inside of that man's house. And we can watch Israel grow and flourish and go well beyond all the sin and the debauchery and the lewdness and everything else we see that society throw at us. I'm glad that we live out here set apart, that there will be no drag queens in no public school that my children be going to, trying to teach them an alternative way to be able to view and look at life as if they have options other than what Yah has already created us for such as male and female.
Wow, yeah, and polygyny will fix so much of that, because, like we talked about, you can homeschool them, or you don't even have to have a baby. How many people were molested by a babysitter? You hear about things like that all the time, right? So that's what monogamy only forces you to do, things like that. We got another question here. It looks like it's for Pastor Dow. It says Isaiah 4 is now just being understood by the people. What say you, Pastor Dow? I think that's the seven women will say to one man. Is that the verse?
Yeah, but one thing that people miss about Isaiah 4, and we'll go over there to read it exactly. It says, in that day, 7 women shall take a hold of one man, saying, now watch this. This is the modern day woman, saying we would just eat our own bread. In other words, we're going to provide for our own selves and wear our own apparel. Don't tell us how we're going to dress, how we're going to look. We're going to wear what we want to. Only let us be called by our name to take away our reproach. See, what they want is they want the headship and authority of a man of a righteous seed. That's what they're looking for. They want a headship and authority of a righteous seed. But the big mistake in this is that here are these independent women that still don't want to be under authority, under headship. They still want to actually take care of their own selves, do what they want to do. But then it says in verse 2, and in that day shall the branch of Yahweh be glorious, be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and coming for them that are the escaped of Israel. So we read it that way, but nowadays, if you're looking at today, you can actually get 7 women that would actually be willing to saddle up with one man to take away their reproach, meaning that they, all women want to have children. At least I'm not going to, well, let me recant that. It used to be a time when women, desired to have children.
Right.
But just like we had just spoken earlier, when Elder Kabir just got finished saying, you look at the men that are lost to war, men that are lost to drugs, men that are lost out here street violence, and we can go on and on and on and on and on. And we see all these people that lost. We're watching that now. We're up to a ratio about, what is it, like maybe 8 or 9 women to one man. That's pretty much where we at. So yeah, Isaiah 4 is happening and it's going to happen. And the Most High says when it does happen, the branch of Yahweh will be beautiful and glorious.
What does that last part mean about the branch of Yahweh will be? Does that have something to do with the second coming, or what do you mean? What does that mean? Do you know?
It does. It's actually speaking prophetically.
So it's going to happen
speaking prophetically in that day.
Okay, so this is going to happen before the second coming, basically.
Exactly. I mean, remember what the book talks about. The book talks about the things that was, it shall be again, and there's nothing new under the sun. Just because we've been in captivity by all these Western nations and stuff, don't mean that y'all's program is ever going to stop. We've been in captivity before, and y'all set us free. We've been in captivity again because of our rebellion and disobedience, and y'all set us free. And just before that coming, he's going to have a righteous seed. He's going to have a remnant that is going to keep his commandments. And they are going to be the ones that have right to the tree of life and may enter into the gates into the city.
Man, I got chills. Well, I tell you what, I've done a lot of podcasts with some pretty big names, and this has been my favorite. I mean, this has been great. I loved it.
Hallelujah.
Y'all drop a comment. Let us know what your biggest takeaway was. Everybody, just drop some thumbs up or hearts for Elder Kabir and Pastor Dow. Pastor, you're good to come on this debate with Pete Rambo and one other.
Yeah. Right now, I'm going to have to keep it up in the air because I'm in the window right now for a child being born.
Okay.
And so I've been it's getting close. You know what I mean? We try to always make sure we have home births, but I have a certain window that I have to make sure I keep open so I can be pliable, if you know what I mean. But I can keep the communication lines open, if y'all will, with me, and we can go from there.
Yeah, because they're going to probably want to bring in a third person if I bring you in, so I want to give them enough notice so it doesn't look like I stack the deck against them. But yeah,
so what's happening? I mean, I don't know what's going on. So give me a little bit of lowdown.
Sure. I wasn't sure if you knew. So I discovered the truth about biblical polygyny probably about 3 months ago. I started talking about it a lot on social media. Of course, my comments blew up because all of my audience. So before this happened, I wrote a book about sexual purity called Why Waiting Works. Here I was this bad boy, started waiting basically because I thought God would give me a wife, turned into a really long time, made a viral YouTube video. So my whole platform got built around saving sex for marriage. So you can imagine it was all women, Christian women. Now then God drops polygyny on me. Who's the last people that want to hear about that? Christian women. Right. They don't want to hear it. So I started talking about it and they're just hating me now. Like they used to like think I walked on water. Now they're just hating me, like attacking me, name calling, just vicious. And but I'm sure I'm right. I got great discernment. God's telling me yes, nothing but peace. I'm like, I ain't going to stop talking about it because I see the truth now and I know what it would do for the world if it was accepted. I had Pete Rambo on the podcast already. And basically I was like, I just issued a challenge. I said, if anybody wants to take us on, like I said, I wasn't, when I said us, I meant I was going to find a couple people that were smarter than me. But I said, if y'all talk real big, if you're so sure you're right, come prove me wrong. I said, I got 41,000 subs on YouTube. Make a fool of us in front of everybody. And nobody accepted it for like days. Finally, one person, this guy named Pastor JD Martin, I think it was, he's accepted it. He had a friend, Michael Holloway, who's also a pastor, who's an internet debater. So I want y'all to know, like, at least everybody that's watching or listening, like these are guys that are, I didn't just get some schmoes. These guys are ordained ministers. They know their stuff. They know their word. But I also am that sure that I'm right about this. So that it's indefensible. Monogamy is indefensible with the Bible. So Pete Rambo has accepted it. There's another guy named Bible Marriage. He won't show his face because he's going through something with his marriage. I'm not sure. But those two have said yes. And then if you were to accept it, that you would be free, and I would give them a chance to bring on a third person as well. And I'm going to moderate it. It's going to be like everybody I think one side, we're going to give 15 minutes to make your opening statement. Then they're going to get 30 minutes to cross-examine you, and then vice versa. Or maybe.
That would be wonderful. I welcome that. I would hope it actually takes place. I really, truly would. I'm not going to hold my breath, though, to think that it will. But, I mean, I know a lot of people say they will, but a lot of times when people do that investigation, I've had people from Dallas Theological Seminary said they would, and they turned it down. North Carolina, I've had pastors be so adamant, call here and leave their credentials and leave their phone number and say, let's do this. And once they get on the internet and find out what I've been preaching and teaching and watch a few of the debates I already have, they kick the traces. Myself and Brother Pete Rambo, months and months ago, we put out a $20,000 challenge, which I upped it to a $30,000 challenge and asked if anyone, I mean, just put it up and let's find out, put your money where your mouth is, let's get it going, because truth needs to reign in the time that we're in rather than opinions.
Yes.
We all may be entitled to our own opinion, but we're not entitled to our own truth. And so, brother, if you can make this happen, that would be extremely nice. I welcome stuff like this. But y'all know what? I'm the type of person that I like doing this face-to-face in an audience with a moderator. But with this one, I definitely more likely will make a concession.
Awesome.
I promise you.
I can't wait. It's gonna be great. Let's pray that baby comes real soon or after. That would be amazing.
They may be praying, please let it fall on the 21st.
You hear that, Summer? They want the baby to come fast.
Yeah.
Tell everybody how they can find y'all and what KGB. Where should they connect with you? And then straightway.
Well, to connect to my channel is KGB 94 TV. But we always promote straight because I'm an elder at Straightway Truth Ministry. You can find Pastor Dow's channel, right? Pastor Dow. I think that's the channel, Pastor Dow channel. And you can check us on our website, straightway.com. It's really Straightway, STRA, like you can see right back there. Not STRAIT way, truth. Straightway.com. You can find us there as well, our website.
Do you stream your sermons on Saturdays online? Because I'd like to watch some of those.
Yeah. Every single Sabbath. Not only that, we have a Blog Talk Radio we stream every Friday night. That's what the world calls it, Friday night. Every Sabbath, as far as you can go back, as far as probably close to 20 years now, see the streaming service we've done. We do it every Shabbat, every single Shabbat. And plus I have quite a large following on YouTube as well and other platforms. So just the name Pastor Dow, you go there, you'll see me. And of course, you also see probably about 100,000 of my enemies too that all seem to hide behind, the screen and the picture that never come out and have good civil discussions about topics like this because, we need to get to the truth.
Yes. Yes.
And I'll send it to you, Rob, maybe when we have Blog Talk, Netflix today, but I'll send it to your Instagram. So when the link is, I'll just send it there so you can kind of see. And it's usually the same time after that. So
I got 3 questions for you, Pastor Dow. First one, when is the next feast and can I come?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to come next week. Next feast, of course, is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Passover. And I just got finished approving of the calendar for the next calendar year. And I believe this year Passover is going to be somewhere along about the 24th of March. But I will get you the dates and the times concretely. You are more than welcome to come. More than welcome to come because you're going to see something that you have never, ever saw in the history of your life. You're going to see not only a bunch of Israelites keeping the commandments. You're going to see a bunch of set apart holy men and women and children, all polite and proper. You're going to see a brotherhood and a sisterhood like you've never seen before. There's going to be extreme praise and worship of the Most High Yah. You're going to see miracles, signs, and wonders. You're going to see literal demonic spirits getting cast out of people and watch people get set free right in front of your very eyes. And you're also going to experience and watch people get filled with the same baptism of the Holy Spirit that Yeshua spoke about, Peter spoke about, and Paul talked about. It's still here. You're going to see all of that. It happens like clockwork every single feast. So we welcome you to come.
I can't wait.
The fireworks come from Yah. We don't put lights and smokes. That's all Yah.
Awesome. And then lastly, I got to hear your origin story, Pastor. I want to hear how you got to be where you're at now, like what just how you learned all this and how you ended up being the man that you are leading this Straightway Church. Not right now, but I was wondering if you would come on my podcast in the future.
I would, man. It's good to meet you. Good to meet you. Good to see you. I'll be again. All we have to do is just communicate and set it up, and I'll literally be there, and I'll break down my little life story, how I started, how I ended up here, and that's something to be said too.
Yeah, just because it'd be running what you just mentioned, what you just described to me, how you must have some serious management skills to get to that, like how everybody's just marching in line, everybody understands the truth, like how you learned it. Like I want to hear all that. So yeah, I'll reach out. I actually reached out to you before when I first discovered this. I found some of your videos and I called Straightway, and somebody called me back. And they left them a voicemail, and I called back, and I don't know if I left another voicemail. I don't remember, but it just kind of fell through the cracks. But I wanted to bring you on. So, yeah, I'd really love to hear that.
Yeah, I want to make sure you get my personal number then. I want to make sure you get my personal number and my personal contact. So that way, there won't be any room for the enemy may try to come in and try to divert it or something like that. So we can actually get out here and get the truth out. The people really, truly need the truth.
I love it. Yeah.
Rob, if I can just say too, testify about Pastor, the way he leads and the way he lives his life and teaches, it attracts men. I mean, this ministry attract men because men follow strength, not titles.
Yep.
So, I mean, and trust me, me playing football, I've been around great people, but when I met Pastor Dow, I said, now that is a man.
Yeah.
A man of Yah. So this is not, like I told you, I used to have to change and say, okay, he's not a coach, he's a pastor, but man, I would have loved to play football for Pastor Dow, man. I would probably break through some walls or whatever, but no.
I can see that. And that's why I think, the church has been feminized, and that's why people are converting to Islam, because at least they stand for something, like we don't stand for nothing in general, not we, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But absolutely, guys, this has been great. As soon as we get offline, I'd love to give you my number, and I look forward to bringing you back on. But thank you, KGB, or Elder Kabir, however I should refer to you. But this has been fascinating. I think people really loved it. And I look forward to staying connected with you guys for a long time.
Most definitely.
All right, my brothers. Shalom.
Okay, guys. Make sure you check out Straightway. Start ingesting the truth. I really do feel like this is a message whose time has come. I believe now is the time to take the hill, especially as it relates to biblical polygyny. I can see God's hands all over this, and I believe he wants this truth out. So get bold. I posted something in a biblical families group that we have today, and it just said, embrace the discomfort, because you're going to probably take a little bit of heat, right? You're talking about this, but if you don't talk about it, nothing's going to change. The world is suffering bad now because of this truth has been suppressed. So get it out, talk about it. Don't worry about the attacks or whatever comes your way, because it'll be worth it in the long run. So just wanted to say that as a last thing, but love you guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment with your biggest takeaway, and follow KGB and Pastor Dow, Straightway Church. Talk to you later.